that story and purely, to look at the level of political acrimony that we've seen in the recent past. I'm now joined by Manoj Joshi, Distinguished Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. Thanks very much, Mr. Joshi, for joining us. Clearly, name calling is something which is increasingly becoming par for the course. What does it say, this sort of level of belligerence that we've seen in the recent past? What does it say about our society, our polity, and the kind of damage that it is doing in the long run, sir?
Well, I think, the whole idea of politics becoming a kind of a zero-sum game. Party wins an election, and then it thinks that it can do whatever it likes and comes down on the opposition. In turn, when the opposition wins the next election, it attacks the party that was in power earlier. So we have a situation of a very bitter kind of a political contest, a no-holds-barred kind of a situation. And somehow politics is seen as a zero-sum game. Now that goes against the grain of democratic politics. As someone said, politics is the art of the possible. But we find in India, somehow or the other, people are attempting to do the impossible. They want to wipe out the opposition. Don't forget that the BJP in its election campaign spoke of a Congress Mukt Bharat, meaning an India without the Congress party. Now, I think anyone who is a Democrat should not wish that he wipes out the other party. He certainly defeats the party, but we all need a healthy opposition if we are to have a healthy democracy.
Right. I mean, fair enough. In fact, the same allegation can also be made against Congress when Sonia Gandhi called the then BJP's chief minister from Gujarat, the Maut Ka Saudagar. So it's pretty much, I think the two main principal parties are perhaps equally, to blame for the current state and the malaise in India's sort of political structure.
Well, certainly when the party in power has a special responsibility. When you win an election, obviously the opposition party is shell-shocked, and they resent the fact that they've been replaced by another party. Now, it's the challenge is on the new ruling party, the treasury benches, as it were, to reach out to the opposition, to try to negotiate with them, build consensus on issues, and then push them through in the form of legislation. Now, this process we see has been happening very fitfully. The result is that if you look at the parliament in the last 1 year or 2 years, you have a situation which is virtually no holds barred, meaning there's no quarter given, no taken, no legislation gets through, no governance gets done. So at the end of the day, it is the country which loses out, leave alone the parties.
Mr. Joshi, even in fact, in one of your articles very recently, you talked about the need for statesmanship, and that's where you basically give the example of our former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But some would say, when it comes to the main government sort of, showing the way in terms of what the discourse should be, some would say, to that limited extent, there was some amount of statesmanship shown by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the start of the winter session when he actually, talked about the need to build consensus. So, I mean, would you say that the effort that the Prime Minister made then was not enough, and it's just that the Congress would not want to take that message home, because clearly it seems that GST is something, that is just not getting sort of implemented because of the parliamentary deadlock. So some would say the Prime Minister did make that attempt, but was that not enough then?
No, it wasn't enough. You see, it's not enough to say that you want to build consensus. You've got to actually go ahead and construct that consensus. So you see, our Prime Minister, if you read his statements, if you read his commentary, he comes across as an extremely well-meaning, balanced kind of a person. But somehow, that doesn't translate into policy. Because when you look at policy, you find, for example, the Congress complaining that their Chief Minister, Mr. Veerbhadra Singh, is being targeted in Himachal Pradesh. They feel that they are being targeted in this National Herald case. Now, I don't know what the truth is, but what I'm trying to say is that this clearly doesn't give the impression that any effort is being made to generate a consensus. So the point I'm trying to make is it's not enough to make declarations and grand speeches. You've got to do the thing, and the onus is completely on you. How you do it is your problem. You cannot simply say that, well, we tried, we invited them for this meeting and etc., and they didn't listen to us. That's not good enough. You simply have to use the art of political management.
Yes, absolutely. But Mr. Joshi, what explains this level of political acrimony and belligerence? You've seen how Indian polity has evolved over the years. Do you really feel that we have now hit a nadir, like a really a new low? Or is it a case where something like this, such political acrimony has been there for a long time? Is this that now, thanks to the 24/7 media and the social media, every time a politician makes a derogatory statement, it just comes more to light? That's all.
See, I think this is a kind of a new low, unfortunately. And unfortunately, I also think that the media plays a certain role in this, because we're going by now tweets and
okay.
comments.
Think 16 years